Hey guys, good morning. Welcome to my garden. If you're new here, my name is Kiera. Feel free to call me Q. And today I am working on clearing out this bed you see behind me. So it's going to be a little bit of an undertaking. There's a lot of stuff in this bed. We have back here a gigantic bean trellis that needs to be cleared out. We have a tomatillo jungle. There's a bunch of different stuff in here. There's flowers, there's peppers, there's more bush beans. There's a random pumpkin in there. So today I am clearing the whole thing out. I thought I'd take you along with me and just show you how I go about taking out different kinds of plants. So it's about 8:30 in the morning right now and it's 47 degrees. I just checked the weather. And as someone who has lived in California my whole life, I am cold. So I have two jackets on right now. I have tea. Not gonna lie, this is gonna be a little bit miserable because everything is also really wet. We have this like really beautiful, foggy, cloudy day today, but yeah, this is not gonna be super fun just because everything is wet right now. But this is the time that I have to do it, so we're gonna get to it. I have a harvest basket here just because there's probably going to be a lot of stuff in here that we're taking out today, especially with the tomatillos. These things are just loaded up with fruit, but I don't know how much of it is ripe. So we're going to get what we can. The first thing I'm going to do is just take you on a little tour around this bed, show you what's all in here so we can see, what we're tackling today and getting ready to clear out this bed, turn it over really quick, and pretty soon here have it planted with a lot of really fun fall stuff. All right, so here's a look at this 4 by 16 foot bed that we're clearing out on one side. So we have like huge tomatillos in here. There's a pumpkin, and then there's the bean arch on the end here. So here's a look at the other side. There's a bunch of bush beans here. The tomatillos are actually planted on this side, and they just took over the whole thing. And then we have some old zinnias that are coming out. And over in that corner, we actually took out a large zucchini plant, but there's some flowers and stuff out that need to be taken out down there too. All right, so what we're gonna do for this today is, since we're clearing out the entire bed, I'm just gonna go down the line and take things out and just kind of show you what I'm taking out and how I think about it and all that kind of stuff. So for our garden in general, we try to do no dig practices, which basically means we don't like till up the soil or anything. We just kind of leave it and add things on top. And so every year when we add like new soil, compost, all of that, it just goes right on top. We don't like living in the city. So we don't like mix things in or anything. We might kind of like sprinkle it on the top and just agitate the top a little bit, but we really don't want to disturb the soil. And the reason why we do that is because there's so much life in soil, and so you really want to try not to disturb it as much as you possibly can. Now, for some things like potatoes and stuff like that, you kind of have to because you have to dig up the potato. But for the most part, we try to just add stuff on every year and kind of keep the community underneath our soil really healthy of all those like microbes and things like that. So another thing I'm going to be doing is taking out all my old tags. These are plastic tags that I just get on Amazon. I usually write on them with a Sharpie, and it doesn't really last. It lasts long enough for me to be able to identify the plant until it gets bigger. So anyway, taking all these tags out. So the first thing I'm taking out is this viney plant, which I'm pretty sure is morning glory. I'll bring you in for a closer look. So this is what I'm pretty sure is morning glory. This is not something I planted, and I'm pretty sure it came with our soil. And so this is one of the few things, like weeds, grass, stuff like that, I actually do pull out the roots of the whole thing as much as I can. Oh, that might come back because I didn't get all of it. But this is all going to come out and go into the city compost pile. I am putting this in the city compost instead of our compost is because our compost sometimes doesn't get hot enough to completely kill stuff like this, like the weed seeds and all of that, things that are just fighters and will come back. And so I want to get them off the property so that they don't just like multiply all over the garden. So those are two things that I'm taking out the whole thing. Now, The next thing I have, let's see what's over here. We got to kind of untangle all of this mess. So this is tomatillo. And I'm just going to put that over there for a second so I can see what's what. Okay. So over here next, I have a pepper plant. And so for the pepper plant, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the roots of this in here because this is definitely not going to come back on its own. It gets too cold in over our winter time for peppers to grow in the ground here. I actually tried to see if I could overwinter peppers in my bed last year because I know you can do it for eggplants and peppers in zone 10 and we're zone 9. So it didn't work. I just had a whole bunch of sticks in my garden all winter, but I tried. The other thing too is we had kind of a harsh winter. And so that might have been it. You know, I'm always down to experiment and try things again, but that definitely didn't work. So I'm not worried about these coming back. I will just plant new peppers next year. But this is one of the ones where I'm going to leave the roots in the ground and just trim off the top. I'm trying not to get dirt in my tea. We'll see how successful I am. Okay, so now this plant is chopped off and I'm just going to take a look. Now any fruit that's on here that's still good, even though it's green, I'm going to take all of this because we worked hard for this. Put that in the harvest basket. And then this is a really good plant to go in our home compost. And then let's see what else we got here. Okay, so here's another pepper. This one's been eaten through, and so this one's just going to go straight into the compost. And then I have another plant here, but it looks like it's actually planted in the corner over there. So let me grab that. As I'm doing this, the other thing that I'm just kind of being mindful of is where my drip system is, because I really don't want to accidentally cut our watering system while I do this. And I like to plant things really close to my watering system so that my little seedlings have a better chance of growing without me having to come out here necessarily every day and water them myself while they're small. So I'm gonna clip that carefully and then just take all of these little peppers off. And some of these are really dirty because they've been on the ground, but I'm not too worried about that. We'll just wash them in the house. And then, oh, here's another one. Yeah, this one got eaten through. You can see there's a hole in it right there. So that's compost. All right, and then what I do for the little stubs that I leave in the ground is I just kind of cover them with soil. That way that stem starts to decompose and becomes worm food. So I just kind of cover it with a little bit of soil and that's it. Now in this corner I have grass, so I am pulling this straight out because I do not want this in this bed. See, don't want it. No thank you. And this grass is growing in this bed because we put the wood chips in after this bed was already built, and I wasn't able to get the cardboard to fully go underneath in some places. And so what we're going to do is we're going to mow down all of this grass that's growing in the gap in the wood chips. We're going to take all this down. I mean, I'm going to try to put another piece of cardboard and then more wood chips, and hopefully that'll help. Oh, I have a little worm here. So if you're going through your garden and you see a whole bunch of earthworms and just different worms coming out, this is a really good sign that your soil is doing all right. So the next thing that I'm pulling out is this trellis. A lot of this is tomatillo. It started to get powdery mildew, which is another reason why we're taking this out. Now, for the tomatillo that does have the powdery mildew in it, I'm not going to put that in our compost. But if there's any fruit on here that I see that is good, I'm going to take that and harvest it. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on these, honestly, because there's just so much fruit that's not ripe yet. And I talked to Andrew about it yesterday, and he's good. Like, we have enough. And so if I see things like this one where, you know, they're ripe when they start to kind of like burst out of their papers a little bit, I'm going to take anything that I see that's like this. But anything that is like, you know, still small or the paper is mushy, anything like that, I'm just going to leave it and clear all of this out. I know at one point I had a Armenian cucumber under here, and I think I took that out already, but there is also this pumpkin plant, so that has to go too. When you're harvesting pumpkins, you want to take as much of the stem as you possibly can with the pumpkin because it'll help it last longer in storage. Now you can see this pumpkin isn't quite done yet. It's still a little bit green, but it is hard. So if you try to put your thumbnail into the pumpkin and it doesn't leave an indentation, then it's mostly ready. It's good to go, and it'll probably store pretty well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this one up here, getting as much stem as I possibly can on it. And then I will just let this finish ripening in the house. This is a sugar pie pumpkin, and so it's really small. Sugar pies actually get a lot bigger than this, but this will still be pretty good for, you know, roasting and then having to make pumpkin treats with. So I'm going to let this finish in the house. Okay, now let's clear out this mess. So when I'm clearing out stuff like this, I like to kind of just like start cutting things at random is usually my method, but it's really so I can get in there and see kind of what I'm doing. So at first, I'm just gonna start cutting things so that we can clear this out. I like to kind of like pull and see what's stuck and what's holding things together, and then just clip all that off until I can get a pretty good section cleared out. There we go. And now I can get closer to the trellis because I found that if I cut things so that it easily goes to just one side or the other, it's way faster cleanup instead of trying to figure out how to weave things through. It's just kind of a mess. Uh-oh. Put my clippers down. Oh, here we go. Thought I lost him. Okay. Now I can see the bottom of this, and you can see that none of this was actually growing on this side. There's just one, what looks like it used to be a zinnia that I took out, and the rest of it is just tomatillo that decided to live everywhere. Okay, so I found the pumpkin plant. Take that out. Now, for the stuff that's left here on the bottom that isn't diseased and it's just kind of dead, dying material, I could leave this in the bed and just kind of let it compost in place. And sometimes I do that, but since I want to plant stuff in this bed in probably the next couple days, I'm going to move all of this stuff, completely clear it out, and put all of this in the compost pile so that it is composting in a specific area where we want it, and in the meantime I can have stuff growing in here. Now you can see all of these tomatillos that just fell off the plant. I'm gonna put all of these right in the compost. You know what? I should probably get a bucket because this is a lot. They're in the walkway too. I'm gonna get a bucket. This is a little planter, but it'll get the job done. But yeah, they're all in the walkway here. Just clean this up. I'm not trying to be perfect about this or anything. I think this is an onion. Huh. We buried some onions that we had planted here at the beginning of last year, so that's kind of funny. It smells like onion too. But yeah, I'm not trying to be perfect or anything here, but I just want to clean it up a little bit. All right, now this whole side is done. It's looking good. So my tea is cold already, which is kind of a bummer. But I am warmed up now, so it's okay. So next thing I'm going to do is just kind of get rid of some of this grass. I think I'm just going to cut this down, mostly so that I can see in the bed without it getting in the way here. I'm not going to get all of it, but just so it's not like in my face. So early in the season, I planted some bush beans in this corner, and I never leave a specific spot for bush beans. I just kind of put them in the gaps later. So let's get in here. I see at least one pepper plant in here too. Now these beans, they're too far gone to eat, and they're not mature enough to save some of them, but that's okay. I'm not worried about saving these anyway, because they are just kind of a filler for me. So I'm just gonna kind of take these out. Now this is one of the thickest growing areas in our garden, so I am just praying that I don't run into any spiders. I do not do spiders well. With any good peppers, taking those out, then snipping the plant at the base. Something has been really enjoying eating the pepper, or eating the beans over here. And there's a ton of really big tomatillos that just went too far. But, oh yeah, that one's cracked. It's too far gone. See, some of these, they're huge. They're just not good anymore. So for a lot of bean plants, they actually have these like nodules on their root systems where they store nitrogen. And if you get them before the beans finish producing, if you just cut the plant off at the base of the root here and leave the roots in the ground, you'll be able to keep that nitrogen in your soil. Now for a lot of these plants, because there's, you know, dry beans on here, they've used all those nitrogen stores. But regardless, I try to leave as much plant material in the ground as I can, because any of the root systems that I leave in, it's just going to become food for the little critters that live in my soil. So I pulled that one out trying to see if I could get a good example of it, but the rest of these I'm just gonna cut at the base. Let's see what I can find in here. There's definitely a lot of like bugs and slugs in here and different things, so sign of a healthy garden, but I'm still not great with creepy crawlies. Right here, one of our sweet bonnet plants. It's kind of like it's a sweet version of a Scotch bonnet, and it doesn't have the heat. We found that the seeds have a little bit of heat sometimes still, but they're still really good. They're really sweet. They're nowhere near as hot as a Scotch bonnet. But we grew these for the first time this year, and they were okay. We're not going to grow them again just because the flavor profile wasn't unique enough for us to want to give it space again, but it was a cool little plant to grow. Now, if there's a habanada in here, I might not take it out just because I love those. We've gotten a ton of them already, but I want more still. And those are my favorite pepper that we grow. So I'm going to clip this sweet bonnet. Actually, not with these. Let's get the big guys. And then there's another pepper plant right here, and I'm just going to snap that one while I'm at it. Looks like all the fruit on this is still green, so there's nothing to take off of this one. These ripen red, so it's not like an Italian, to my knowledge. It might be different, but this isn't like an Italian pepper where you can just kind of eat it green too. These tomatillos are wild. They just took over everything. Love it. Okay. Woof. Okay. Friends. Now here I have some Italian peppers, so I'm definitely taking these. So this is a tomato trellis. They're sold as tomato trellises, and I would never use this for a tomato. They are horrible at actually trellising tomatoes. So I use them for peppers. They're fantastic for peppers. They're like the perfect size. They do sell larger ones of these that I would use for determinate tomatoes, so kind of the bush varieties like Romas and stuff like that, because they're a lot smaller, and the bigger version of this will hold those pretty well. But like this isn't holding any kind of tomato at all. If you're new to gardening and you see these in the garden store as tomato trellises, do not use these for your tomatoes, especially if you're doing the indeterminate really tall tomatoes like Amish paste or any of your slicers or anything like that. It's just going to eat it in like a couple weeks. I think once your tomatoes like a month or two old, it's gonna just demolish this thing. And you'll be really disappointed and it'll be messy and all of that. So just don't do it. Great for peppers, terrible for tomatoes. Places like this where the foliage is really thick, I'm always scared to put my hand in because I don't know what's gonna pop out at me. It makes me nervous. Okay, I'm gonna see what I can pull out of here and see how far we get. Maybe I can pull out most of this tomatillo. Just found the base of this tomatillo plant. It's huge. Okay, this makes a lot of sense. Let me show you this. All right, so that stalk right there is the base of one of these gigantic tomatillo plants. Yeah, that thing is massive. Let's get to cutting that out. So this gigantic plant was about an inch high when I put it in. I didn't think that they would actually make it, and two out of the three that I planted did. Oh man. Oh yeah, here's the other one. It's really thick also. A lot of really good peppers in here. I'll just say, I've been really proud of this little corner of the garden here. It did so well, and we got so much food out of this. Oh, that's a lot of compost material. Okay, let's haul this off. I don't know if I can lift this. This is really heavy. Okay, I think what I'm gonna do is go that way. So I'm gonna move the camera because I need to go right where the camera is. Oh man, that was a lot. Okay, now let's do some cleanup. Another thing about these pepper cages is they're just really flimsy and they break really easy. So you can see the top of this one fell off. Probably I think the first year that we had it. I want to make sure that something like this, even though I like reusing these, it's not going to be a hazard for, you know, a little one who is exploring the garden, you know, accidentally hurting themselves and stuff like that. So I tend to put it kind of like in the middle of the bed just so it's a little bit safer. Yeah, so I might use this again next year, might not, now that we have more kids running around through the garden. With our little one, he'll be running around in a couple years, but with friends visiting too, I want to make sure that everybody has fun, because one of the reasons I garden is to share it and so that it can be a full experience for everyone that comes to our house. So this is one of those things where it's great to reuse things, but also, you know, consider how you're reusing it to make sure that it works for the entire lifestyle of your garden. So this is kind of funny. We grew carrots in this corner last fall/spring, and when spring came around and we were ready to plant our spring/summer garden, we ended up topping off these beds with a lot more soil, and so I completely buried most of the things that were in these 3 beds on this side, including all of the carrots. They were just completely buried. Well, it looks like one of those carrots at least popped its little way out. And so I thought it'd be fun if we just kind of, oh, there's 2 here. Okay. So I thought it'd be fun if we pull these out together. I don't think these are going to be edible at all because they've now been in the garden for like a year and a half. But let's see what an old carrot looks like. It's actually carrot-like down there. Let me see if I can bring you in closer. So you can see just how much soil we put on top of this thing. I'm trying to get a good grip on it. Here we go. It's an actual carrot. I thought this thing would look terrible, but it's pretty legit. It probably tastes terrible. I don't know if I want to try to eat this. I'm going to show it to Andrew to see what he thinks. What's up, guys? It's a new day. It's actually 2 days. Oh, let me see if I can get this right. Here we go. It is 2 days past when we were together last, clearing out this bed. And so the last thing that I have to clear out is this big bean arch behind me. So this was Blue Lake pole beans, and they did so well. We got so much food off of this. It was insane, just like gallons of beans. So it's finally time to take this down so that we can have this entire bed just completely cleared out. And so this was another thing that I wanted to show you exactly how I do it, because I know when I first started out gardening, people would just kind of mention offhand like, oh yeah, we took this out, or I took it out this way, but I really wanted to see exactly how they did it. So this is the last thing in the series of clearing out a whole bed that I really wanted to show you. So let's get in there. So first things first, I can see that there's actually a few more really good beans on here. So I'm going to take off what I see. Some of it right off the bat. If I see more as I go, I'll take those down too. I'm not worried at all about getting everything at this point, just because like we're good. Like I said, we got so many beans off of this. So if there's like a last few really nice sized ones that aren't going to be stringy, I'll definitely get those. But mostly I'm just focusing on taking this down. So in order to take this down, some people do start from like the bottom, and I am going to cut these plants at the root like I have everything else for the most part. But, oh, it's in my hair. But for these arches, because they're so stuck on the cattle panels and they're so just kind of like woven around them, I like to actually start in the middle at the very top and kind of work my way down. And let me show you what I mean by the fact that they just kind of like wrap around the trellis. Okay, so you can see here that these plants are really cool because they just kind of like wind their way up the panel. And this is really awesome because they, are really secure up here, but it does mean that it takes longer to take them down. Very top here, just how thick these plants are. And this isn't something like I can't just pull this out. It's actually going to pull the entire trellis. You can't see it probably from the camera angle, but it's moving the whole thing with it, with me just touching this one itty bitty vine. And so what I like to do is start from the very top, and I just kind of cut it in sections and work my way down. I'll just kind of take a square, maybe start right here, and I just kind of snip here and then pull and see what comes down, see if it budges. Now this is going to be different because I'm starting in the middle here, but I just kind of unwind them like that, and then it's a lot easier to kind of like take little pieces down at a time. So this is pretty tedious. I actually really hate taking beans down just because it takes so long. Another reason why I'm wearing my apron today is so that I can have my clippers really handy and just kind of like pop them in the pouch when I need to pull a bunch of stuff down, and then grab them really quickly again. So I'm gonna get started on this, and yeah, time for a time lapse. Another thing I do while I'm taking these plants down is I'm not standing directly underneath this, because right at the top here, there's always bugs, and I want as few bugs on me as possible. There's like a section here that had a bunch of aphids, and I've already seen 3 ladybugs that I moved the ones I could. But yeah, whenever I take down beans, I never stand directly underneath it just because it's pretty gross. I always feel bad taking down anything where the ladybugs are living in it, because I work so hard to make the garden inviting for them, and it's always really sad to take down where they're happily living. Right now I'm leaving our squash plants, our pumpkin vines, even though they don't have any pumpkins on them, we've harvested the whole thing. I'm leaving them because they're covered in aphids, and I want to have one place where the ladybugs can stay as long as possible in the gardens. So yeah, like I said, this is tedious. A lot of this is just figuring out, winding these around and figuring out where they go. So I'll come in here and find the base of the plant and then just snip it right at the soil level. And that's it. Then all of these beans that I just took out, they're still really good. They're not diseased or anything. So these are great for, really great for our compost. And I'm excited to have this much material to put in there. Okay, so we got one side done. Now for the big side. This thing is, that's a lot of plant. Let's get started. So the reason why I am picking up, thought that was a spider. The reason I'm picking up all of these leaves instead of just leaving them as mulch, I'm doing it for a couple reasons. One, because we want to plant out this bed probably tomorrow. And so I want to just start with a clean slate. The second reason why, and probably the biggest reason, honestly, why I'm not leaving these leaves as mulch is because we get slugs here. It's one of our major pests when it comes to wintertime. And so I want to clean all this up because all of these leaves are a perfect habitat for slugs, and I want to give our winter garden just a fighting chance. And then the third reason is, you can probably tell right now, it's pretty windy outside, and we have actually a wind advisory for the next 2 days, and all of this would be all over the yard anyway. So I would rather have this compost in our actual compost bins and make sure that we actually get the plant material than in it ending up like in our neighbor's yard or something like that. All right, and here we have a nice clean bed ready for some new plants. I hope that this was helpful for you to see exactly how I pull out certain plants and kind of my reasoning behind it and all of that kind of stuff. For me, at least, a lot of this stuff, I'd never grown it before I started gardening, and the first time I saw it was in a lot of people's gardens on YouTube. And so it was really valuable for me to see exactly how stuff grew, so then I could kind of use that to plan out my garden and figure out where I wanted things to grow and why. And so I hope that this is beneficial for you for the same reasons. As always, I would love to hear how your gardening adventures are going, whether you have a garden like this or you're growing in a couple pots on a patio. I love hearing about all of it. So thank you so much for joining me in my garden today and a couple days ago also. And I'll see you next time. Bye.